Lena lived for the past. Dusty attics and forgotten treasures called to her. Her apartment, a testament to this love, overflowed with antique furniture and trinkets. Each piece whispered stories of bygone eras. But her true fascination lay with mirrors. Mirrors, she believed, were more than reflective surfaces. They were portals to forgotten moments, silent witnesses to history. She imagined the lives they had seen, the secrets they held. Each antique mirror she found was a treasure to be cherished. Among her collection, she held a particular fondness for a gilded hand mirror from the Victorian era. Its delicate handle was cool to the touch, the silver slightly tarnished with age. This, she thought, was a mirror with stories to tell. One chilly autumn evening, Lena stumbled upon a peculiar antique shop tucked away on a forgotten side street. Its dusty windows displayed an eclectic mix of forgotten relics. Drawn in by an inexplicable pull, Lena entered. Among the dusty furniture and cobwebbed chandeliers, her eyes fell upon a magnificent mirror. It was taller than any man, with an ornate frame of dark wood, intricately carved with unknown symbols. The mirror's surface was clouded, its reflection distorted and hazy. Despite its eerie beauty, the mirror held a strange allure. It called to Lena, whispering promises of forgotten secrets. Unable to resist its pull, Lena purchased the mirror, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Back in her apartment, Lena placed the mirror in her living room. It dominated the space, its dark presence both imposing and unsettling. As she gazed into its clouded depths, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd invited something unknown into her home. The first few days passed without incident, yet Lena couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes observing her every move. Whenever she was near the mirror, a cold shiver ran down her spine. The mirror's reflection was never quite right. It seemed to distort her image, making her features appear sharper, her eyes wider. At times she caught glimpses of movement in the reflection, fleeting shadows that vanished when she turned around. One evening, as Lena was reading a book, she glanced up at the mirror. For a fleeting moment, she saw a flicker of movement behind her reflection. A figure, tall and shadowy, seemed to stand in the reflection of her living room. She blinked, and it was gone. Days turned into nights, and the strange occurrences continued. The unsettling feeling in Lena's apartment intensified. Each time Lena looked into the mirror, the reflection seemed to be further away, as if the glass extended deeper than it should. Then came the night when the subtle changes transformed into undeniable horror. As Lena was preparing for bed, she paused to glance at the mirror. Her breath hitched in her throat. Standing in the reflection, partially obscured by the shadows, was a figure. It wasn't a trick of the light, nor a figment of her imagination. The figure was real, solid. It was tall and slender, its features obscured by the darkness that clung to it like a shroud. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped Lena. She couldn't tear her eyes away from the apparition. The figure began to move. It took a slow step closer to the center of the mirror, its movements fluid and unnatural. The shadows around it seemed to deepen, swirling like smoke as it glided across the reflected room. Lena wanted to scream, to run, but she was frozen in place, her gaze locked on the terrifying spectacle unfolding before her. The figure stopped its advance, its form solidifying as it stood within her reflection. Although its face was still hidden in the shadows, Lena could feel its gaze piercing through her, cold and calculating. It was then that a horrifying thought struck her. The figure's movements weren't erratic or frantic. They were deliberate, purposeful. It was moving towards her. Terror lent Lena a sudden burst of strength. She tore her gaze from the mirror, spinning around to face the intruder in her room. But the room was empty. Heart pounding, Lena slowly turned back to the mirror. The figure was still there, watching her. But something was different. It was no longer moving towards the center of the mirror. It was standing still, and it was staring directly at her. A wave of dizziness washed over Lena as she registered the final chilling detail. Her reflection wasn't mimicking her movements. She was facing the room, her back to the mirror, but in the reflection, she was still facing forward. Her reflection was staring into the room, eyes locked on something behind her, something she couldn't see.